What's going on, everyone? So I want to thank Wix for sponsoring today's video, and we're actually going to be taking a look at Velo by Wix. And in short, Velo is a full stack development platform which essentially allows you to add custom code to your website as well as more advanced features to make your website much more complex and much better. So let's actually hop over to my computer and let me show what we're going to be building for today. So before we start editing the website design, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of Velo by Wix. So in short, it is a full stack development platform, and pretty much anything you can imagine, you can build it with Velo, but faster. So whether that's an e-commerce site, a SaaS platform, social network, etc., you can build that with Velo and doesn't have to require any setup or maintenance. All you have to do is just go right into the editor and you're ready to get started. And then also you can easily integrate this with third-party services. In addition, let me just show you the actual features too really quick, just to talk over some of them. So as we can see here, we have the features listed and we have the databases. So with the database, you can create dynamic sites and collaborate on content with teams and clients all within the content manager. And then also, if you wanted to add some different animations or additional features to your website that you can't do normally with the regular Wix editor, you can actually implement some custom code as well. So if you know front end or back end, or if you just simply check out their documentation, seeing how to set things up, you can actually go in there and add custom code to your sites. In addition, if you are doing business, you can have Wix stores, also booking functionalities, CRMs. You have the API for payments, and then also blogs, and then members area as well. And if you ever needed to see more details on a specific feature, you can just click onto it and then check out some more information there. And then last they have is some marketing. So pretty much SEO, analytics, typical marketing things. You can A/B test, also create heat maps, and there's a lot of more features on the actual Velo by Wix that you can use to implement and improve your website. So let's actually go ahead and hop over to the website that we're going to be creating for today. So here's the website we're going to be creating for today. So if I were to just scroll down here, we can see that the actual transparent nav bar changes to a solid background color. And this one's a pretty popular animation you can add with code to just basically make it easier to see when you're scrolling. And then down here, we have this little mouse in, mouse out effect. So essentially, whenever I move my mouse over a particular thing, it's going to display something. So for instance, I go hover over the image, you can see that actually adds some text and a pricing tag, and then when I leave, it's going to disappear. So if I wanted to hover over this image and then add like something on this side of the content to update, then actually I can implement that with custom code as well. And then an additional feature I wanted to show you that's pretty popular among websites is showing more content without having to keep it visible at all times. So for instance, right here, if I click on show more, it updates the button and then also shows the additional content down here. So if you are having like a image gallery or you have a lot of information on your website, then this is a good way to keep it from showing everything, and also it can also make it easier to focus people into particular designs and things on your actual website versus getting distracted by other content. So that's some of the most common features that I wanted to show you for today that you can actually go ahead and utilize in your website and customize it and make it better. And then if I were to check on for like the additional pages, for instance, you can see that the nav bar actually updates as well. And then also there's a live chat feature too, which comes with this template in case you need people to contact you as well. So let's go over to Wix and get started. So in order to get started, you're going to need to navigate over to Wix's website. So I have a link in the description so you can go ahead and access their website through there. And then once you see, you can get started, and then you'll have to go here to the sign up page and create an account if this is your first time using Wix, or if you already have one, you go ahead and log in or go with Google or Facebook. So I already have an account, so I'm actually going to go over to my dashboard and then show you how to create your site from there. So here I am on the dashboard. So let's go ahead and actually create a new site. So I'm just going to go over here and just click on create new site. Now it's going to ask you to choose, so go ahead and just choose on the Wix platform. And then for this design, I'm just going to go with the business templates, but again, feel free to choose whichever one fits you. And then for here, we're just going to go ahead and choose a template. And then the option that I picked, I clicked on real estate option here. And I just scrolled down and I went to page 2. And then there's this one called architect company. I really like this one, so I'm going to go ahead and edit with this. So here we are on Wix's editor. So let's go ahead and start editing the website. So the very first thing we're actually going to do is implement the header navigational menu scroll effects. So let's go ahead and actually click on this add button right here. And what we need to do is add a strip. So we basically go to the strip, click on classic, and then you can just drag that in here. And then let me just resize this just a little bit. And then I can just go here and just scroll to the top. And let me actually drag this over just so I can make sure I have the same height. And I can just shrink it to the current height of the current header. And I'll just drag this right back down. And what I want to do is actually copy the same content from the header onto this new white strip we just created. So I'll just Command C and then Command V. And then I'll just drag this and see once it aligns, it'll let me know. And then here we'll do the same with these logo items. So let's paste this in. And then same here. And then before we actually drag this over, let's click on the top transparent header. Click on the settings and then make sure you click on freezes, and I'll just exit off there. And then the next thing I want to do is click on the white strip and then just drag it right on top of the header. So now it looks like this, and essentially it's just covering it. And now let's go ahead and let's click on the plus sign again. Make sure we're on strip classic, and let's drag in another strip here and just drag it into the websites. And then we'll just match it on the top. And then here we can just shrink this. It doesn't really matter too much on the height, but I guess for example purposes, we can do 70 heights. And then let's go ahead and change the strip background. And let's go to settings and then change that to 0%. And now what we need to do is actually implement some custom code to utilize the effect. So let's go ahead and click on this dev mode up here. And then just click on turn on dev mode. And then let me just go ahead and show you how to implement this. So first things first, I want to go to this column strip and click on it. And then for the ID, we can change this ID here. So here essentially is the label that we're going to call it. And in coding, IDs are specific to that particular thing. So this is something that we can name. For instance, I'll call this one scroll points. And I just named it that because that whenever we scroll down and it reaches this section, I want it to do something. So I'm just calling it scroll point. And then pretty much we can actually go here and let's click on the actual, this top strip here. And then let's go and change this one to, I'll just call this one header 2, because essentially the first one was header 1, but this is basically the second one. And again, you can name this whatever you want to. And for this, it's telling me to go to openmasterpage.js to edit this. Let's just click on that. And all that did was go from the home to this master page, which essentially, think of this as like a global addition to your website where it works on any of your pages. If you were just to do the custom code, if we click on home, you can see that tabs change here too. Only the code here, if we added in this tab, would affect the home page. But if you were to just go to the portfolio page, for instance, or the about page, this code in the home tab wouldn't affect that. So if we go to masterpage.js, I want to write the code in here because essentially the header, the nav bar, scroll effect, I want that to happen on every page. And so inside here, we can erase this essentially as a comment, and that's just telling you where to write the code. And then what we can do is start writing the function. So if you've never written a line of code before, don't worry, I'll make this fairly simple to get started with. And basically, in order to start, you need to do a $sign and then a W, and then you do parentheses. So this is just Wix way of setting up their code, and then this is how you can target your particular items on your website. And then in here, you're gonna wanna put the quotes, and then this is where you plug in your ID value. So remember, we just renamed this strip section right here. You can see if I hover over it, it's the hashtag scroll point. So we literally put that ID inside here. So we say hashtag scroll point, and as you can see, it auto fills it out for me, so I can just press the tab and then it just completes for me. And then after, we'll do dot, and what I want to do is utilize some event handlers, which essentially means something that occurs on your website, for instance, such as a click of the button, maybe your mouse moved into a particular area on your website, or even whenever you're scrolling on a particular section on your site, I want something to happen. So there's this event handler called onViewPortLeave, and even if I were to click on, let me see if it shows, I click on the header, you can see these are the things right here, event handlers as well. And as you can see, we have a bunch of different options. And if I max it out, you can see all of them. And we're going to utilize on viewport leave and on viewport enter. So basically, let's just start off by saying on viewports. And as I type it out, you can see it auto completes for me. So I can just scroll down here to auto and just click on it. So on viewport leave, and then it's parentheses. It highlights the word handler. So I'll just backspace and delete this. And then in here, we're going to pass in what's called encode an arrow function. So you might not know what that means, and you don't really need to in this context, but all you need to know is basically you'll pass this line of code and then you can write in what you want to do. So the way you do it is you do 2 parentheses, so just like that, and then you press space and they'll do equal sign, and then we'll just do the greater, or essentially it looks like the arrow symbol here, and then you press space again, and then you do curly braces and then press enter. So that's essentially, if I were to click out encode, that's just like a shorter way of writing out a function. And then now we want to actually add in the logic, or in this case, what do you want to happen? So whenever we leave essentially this scroll point, I want this to show the actual white navigation header. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the $W, that's just by default on Wix, parentheses, and then you do quotes, and then this right here, this giant white navigation bar is called the ID hashtag header 2. So what we're going to do is we're going to say hashtag header 2, and then we'll just say dot show parentheses. And now before that, I want it to be hidden when we enter this. So let's do another line, and what we can actually do is just copy this. We just straight up copy this exact lines right here, these 2 or 3 lines, and then let me just do a space, and we'll just paste this in. And then all we need to do is change this to just say on viewports enter. Keep everything else, and the only thing different we're going to change is this from show to hide. And I'll just say hide. And then let's go ahead and let's just preview this and let's see if it currently works. And right now, if I were to scroll down, you can see that it basically changes as we scroll. And that's essentially what's happening on the behind the scenes. Is when I go back to the editor, it's essentially showing it once it leaves the viewport, and then it hides it on enter. And then also we were to go and click on this, and then we can actually keep it hidden by default so that you can't see it. And then we'll just hit preview here. And then as you can see, it still does the same effect. So adding that hidden effect basically makes it where it doesn't show no matter what. And if I go to the portfolio page, we can see there's an error because it doesn't know what this essentially is, because we don't have it attached. Let's go back to the editor. Then we go to portfolio. You can see in the actual code what it's telling me is that scroll point is not a valid selector. And that's because on the home page, we actually have this thing right here, scroll point. So I just command C this and go to portfolio and check it here. You can command V and paste it, and then now we have this scroll point. So now if I go back, it can read that. So if I go to the about page, it's going to have an error because technically that strip isn't there. So in case you wanted to add this on both pages or all of your website, just add that strip there. So let's just preview this really quick, and then let's just minimize this, and you can see on the portfolio the nav bar changes. Same with the home, but on the about page it's going to run an error because I didn't add the actual strip inside there. So you can see it's just like this, and then actually we can debug this by opening it back, and you can see it's there again. So just note, if you are creating something custom and that you want it to be global, just make sure you add all those features to the additional pages as well. And just one thing I wanted to add is you could also just right click on this element and then show them on all pages as well if your site has everything similar. So again, that's just an easier way to do it. But if you did have a custom design, then obviously you have to go in manually and then add the effect to the page that you want to. But if they're all the same, then you can just do this, and then that way it'll be much easier for you, especially if you have a lot of different menu options. And just for reference, in case you're wondering where I came up with all these different functions, all you need to do is actually go over to the original wix.com/Velo site and just go over to this documentation and just click on API reference. And then here, this includes a lot of details on everything that you need. But for instance, like if you click on the search bar, type in show, for instance, and then just like I show in the actual code, you can click on this, for example, this word, and then you can see all the different functionalities, and then you'll see I use some of these in the later in the video, and pretty much you can read how $W, your actual ID, and then your function, and then again you can add custom fade options, etc. on here. So that's way if you wanted to add something more complex that I didn't actually show in particular, then you can check it out on this actual part on the Wix Velo reference section. So now let's actually go ahead and start editing the additional section on this site. So let me just minimize this. And let me just scroll down and let's just turn off dev mode really quick. So I'll just turn it off. And just to show you what we currently have. So this template design, it has this sort of like image with display, and I went ahead and actually deleted this section here because this is just like a filler content, but I'm not going to utilize this. So I'm going to go ahead and do is just delete this section. So I'll just click on the recent use, and then I'll just hold shift and click on all of these content items right here, and I'll just simply just delete it. And then now I want to just go and drag this strip and just shrink the actual height of it. So let's just keep shrinking this till we reach around this height. This sounds pretty good to me. Then what I want to do is I want to scroll up, and then let's select these two right here. So I'll hold shift and just highlight all of these, and then I'll just command G to group them. And now it's a grouped element, which means it basically can move in one piece. So I'll just command Z to make sure it's back in place. And then I'll just do the same exact thing with this bottom section right here. So I'll just group these really quick. So now what I want to do is actually, let's go here and just highlight these both by holding shift and selecting both. And I just press shift down arrow a few times, and just till I get close to the bottom here, just to leave some space because I'm going to add a custom button right here. So let's go hit plus sign, and then let's go over to the button, and then they have a theme button by default. So let's just drag this right in, and then let's just drag it over here. And actually what I want to do is let me get a strip. So let me just drag this really quick. And let me just put a strip really quick out here just so I can have everything nice and easy to edit. So let's just put it, looks like it dragged it up there, but let me just shrink this really quick. Shrink it a little bit, and then I'll just drag this on top of this section here. Then I'll just shrink this just a little bit, and then we'll have it just in the middle. And this just makes it easier for me to like move it around without me having to go and drag the button individually. And I'll just change the strip background to transparent. And let me just go back and get the button. I'll just command X this, click on the strip and just paste this, make sure it's within it, and then put it right there. Then we'll just change this to just say show more. We'll exit off here. And then what I want to do now is actually, let's make sure we have the positioning right. But let's just click on these group elements and let's turn on dev mode again. So let's go back and turn dev mode on. So now what I'm going to do is make sure I selected this first group, and then let's just click on hidden. And then group 1, that's fine naming for me. If you want to change that, feel free. And then let's do the same here, and let's make sure this one is actually hidden as well. And then what I want to do is I want to create a function that basically shows this on the click of the button. So let's go here to the button, and then it's currently named button 8. So you can call this, let's just say button show, and then we go here, and then let's just erase this code here. And actually we don't even need this section code, we can just delete everything here. And the cool thing is with this button, we can actually go and I only need the on-click event handler. So basically that means when I click the button, I want it to do something. So we'll just click on here. And it, by default, if I click this and then hit the plus sign, it'll showcase essentially a function. And then all I have to do is just add code in here. So let me just erase this in the middle. And then basically we do the same thing again. We'll do the $W dots, or not dot this time, I'm going to parentheses. And then use the quotes. And again, the groups were called group, so hashtag group 1, and then outside of this we'll do dots, and this is essentially going to be an expanding function. So there's things built in Wix where you can showcase this with an expand or a collapse. So let's just say expand and then parentheses, and that's basically all you have to do. And then we can just do shift alt down arrow, and it just copies it down. We can do group 2, which again was this one right here, so you can hover it and see the ID and expand that there. Now what I want to do is do $, w parentheses quotes hashtag button show, and I want to say dot hide parentheses. Now basically what that means is whenever I click on the button, it's going to hide it. So if I click preview right now, if I make everything properly, it should, right now it's not showing anything, so I just click on show and it hides it, and right now nothing is displaying. So let's go back to the editor and let's do this. Let's make sure we drag these back to the top a little bit, just make them a little skinnier. And then here, let's go and scroll down here and let's just shrink this a little bit too. So like just like this, and let's go ahead and let's do this. We'll go to the button and we'll do Command C, Command V. So we basically created the same exact button, except what I want to do is click on this button and let me Command X and make sure I paste it inside the strip. So right now it's in the strip now, and then I hover right above the button, and it's gonna have to change the text icon. So it's gonna say the exact same thing. The only different is the actual icon. We're gonna replace this, and then here I'm just gonna go ahead and we can choose from media from Wix. But all I need to do is just type in down arrow and let me see if it shows up. And here we can just click on this one and I'll just choose that file. And now you can see that it automatically changes. And this one's called button 8 as well because I copied it. But let's actually go here and let's just change this to button. Let's just call this to hide. And now let's do this. We'll say underneath this line of code, we'll say $W parentheses quotes hashtag button hide. I'm going to say dot show parentheses. So this is essentially just a function that shows and hides these buttons. And then let's make sure everything is there. So let's go ahead and let's preview this again and see if the code is implemented. So right now, if I close this out, if I just click it, currently it is not showing. So let me do this. Let me go back to the editor and let me try refreshing Wix and see if that fixes the issue. Oh, one last thing I forgot to add is on button hide, we actually have to keep it hidden by default because it's actually showing both, and that's why we're unable to click on it properly. So let's try this again. So right now, as you can see, when I click it, it changed the arrow, but so far the actual expanding part isn't showing. So let's go back to the editor and let's do this. Let's go and let's add the effects for the second buttons. Let's just say we can just try to copy this exact line of code and then paste it, and then what we can do is button hide. And just in case, if we click on here, we can go and if we were to click on the on click, it would highlight it, but since we already created one, it should be the second option. So if I were to actually delete this, so right now because it created two, so it's not going to name it the exact same thing. So if I go and delete this really quick, and let's just delete this here. If I were to just go and delete that, and click back on the button hide, and then just click on click, it just makes it by default what we have. So I can just click on there again, and you can see it auto created for us. And then I can just paste these values in here into this. And then what we should do is let's do the expand, change that to collapse. And then I'll just do the same here. And then we'll just replace the values here. So for the hide, we're actually going to hide it. And then for the show, we're actually going to show it. And then one thing I need to do is actually, let me drag these up just a little. Let me see if I click on the group. Yeah, let me just drag these up a little bit. And then same with this section here. And then we'll just shrink this up too. Let's just preview it. And let's try this again. So right now it looks like it's not displaying the actual section. So let's go ahead and check and debug what's going on here. And I see now why we didn't display it, because I actually clicked on the wrong option originally. So now you can see that's cool. Glad that actually happened. So now you can see the reason why we use collapse and expand is actually if I click back on the group here, I use hidden, which is typically for hide and show, but for collapse, you actually have to make sure you click on collapse instead. Let's just go here. And let me click on the second group and let's do collapse here. And now let's preview and let's see if that fixes it. Okay, perfect. So now, since I changed it from hidden to collapse, notice how hidden essentially just kept it the same thing there. Is just it's like invisible. But for collapse, it actually straight up took it out of the content. So now if I hit show more, now you can see it's there. So again, we can go back to the editor, and then if you wanted to, adjust this, we can like make it more centered, and then maybe fix this, and then just shrink it down a little bit. And basically, now you can see whenever we click on the show button, which is essentially the arrow, that's the default one, it shows it by saying expand these functions here, and then it just hides the button, the show button, and then it just shows the hide button. And then same thing here, when I click on the hide button, it collapses both of them, and then it'll show the original button, the show button, and then it'll hide the button, which was the hide button. So again, this might be super confusing your first time in any type of code, but ideally, if you get the picture, it's essentially showing you how you can hide and show content basically by clicking a button. So if you have like an image gallery, or even if you had like a tab with additional information, like a FAQ or something, you can implement some stuff in here and just click it, displays your information content. And then that's fairly simple use case in terms of the way I showed it, but this is something that a lot of websites utilize, and then you can go ahead and customize this to your own design. So the last thing I want to show you is actually the mouse in and mouse leave effect. So let's go back to the editor, and let me show you this cool custom effect. So what we can do is let's just go to the plus sign, and let's just add some text here. So I'll just add like heading 1. Let me just drag it into the sites, and then go here. Let's just drag this here, and then for the heading, let's just edit the text and then just put like a dollar price. So I'll say like 2,250,000. It doesn't really matter what price you put here. It can be anything. And then what I'm gonna do is I just drag this over here, and then I can add another. Let's see. I want to add a box, like a little box background. I'll just drag this one, and then I can just shrink this, and then just bring it over here. And actually, let's do this. Let's click on the drag it over here. Let's click on the text, Command exit, paste it. That way, it's on top when I drag it. And then I'll just drag this over here now. And then I'll just shrink this a little bit, and then center the text. And then let me just change the design really quick, the background, and let's just customize the design. And let me make it like a darker background. And then what I want to do is, I actually want to make this one hidden this time. So make sure we got the container. This is just box 3. I'll just keep it like that for the name, the ID. And then I want to add another thing, a text, just to show you like additional things you could do. So just click on drag here, just drag it on top. And then just put it over here, and we can just say something. Let's just say like designed by Arthur Lex. We can just shrink this here, and then font we can keep that for now, it's fine. What I want to do is actually, let's just put it like down here, and I want to click on hidden here. So now it's hidden, and then we want to click on this image 3. So right now we can just change this to straight up image. And then we can scroll down to the bottom of our functions, and I can actually create this cool fade effect. But before that, let's just write the logic first. Actually, yeah, let's write the fade effect first. So let's just do this. Let's just say let fade options, and this is just essentially a object. Which, if you're not sure what that is, it's just a way to add a bunch of different properties or labels to your animation. So if you want to add like a duration or how long the animation is going to be, maybe even a delay, you want it to be like 2 seconds before it actually occurs, etc. There's a bunch of different ways. You just say equal to curly braces, and then here we'll just do quotes, and we'll call the actual effect. So for instance, duration is the one I'm going to be using, and I'll just do colon, and then let's do 600 milliseconds. So essentially 1000 is 1 second, and then less is basically less per second. And then here we'll just go and let's do this. Let's click on the image, and now we can see we have mouse in and mouse out. So we're going to use both, but let's just start off with mouse in, and I'll just click on plus sign. So now you can see it auto creates it for us. And then here we can do the same thing, $W, parentheses, quotes, and then we're going to target the one right here, which is the box 3. So actually let me change that to price so it makes more sense. Price, and then we'll just say author. So here we're going to do hashtag price. We're going to say dot, we're going to hide it. Actually, we're going to show it, my bad. We're going to show it, and then we're going to do parentheses, quotes, and now we're going to actually pass in the actual effect, which is going to be a fade, and then comma, we're passing in the values we set, which is called fade options. Fade options. And then we can do shift alt down arrow to copy this line. All we need to do is just change the actual thing we're targeting, which would be the ID, which is going to be the author. And then we can go under here, and then we can just try to copy this. So let's just go here, highlight these lines of codes, Command C, Command V, and change that to mouse out. And then we'll just change this to hide. Hide there, and then hide there. And then if everything worked properly, let's go ahead and try previewing it, and let's see how it looks. Currently we're back at the top of the sites, and then if I mouse enter, you see the fade effects, and it displayed these two values. And then when I leave it, make sure I see if it works. Looks like the mouse out isn't working properly, so let's make sure we go back to the editor and see if we did everything properly. So image underscore mouse out. So let me do this. Let me just do Command X. And let's just click back on the image, and let's just click on mouse out, and I'll just plus sign this. So here I'll just paste back in the same thing, except we're going to delete these two lines here. So it should just be the price and the author, and it's hiding it with the fade and the fade option. So let's try that again. If that doesn't work, I'll just actually let me just save this. I'll refresh Wix, and then I'll go back and preview and see if that fixes it. So now I'll just preview this. And let's see, mouse enter, showcases, mouse leave, it disappears. So perfect. So essentially this effect is useful for showcasing different types of content where you don't have to just implement a typical hover state effect. So for instance, if I wanted to hover over this image and I wanted something over here to appear, I could do the exact same thing I did with this code and then just apply it over here. And then also we can see a little show more option, showcasing more content here, and also the navigation bar going like this. So let's go return back to the editor. And just wanted to make a quick comment in case it wasn't clear on why the original mouse in, mouse out effect wasn't working. So if I scroll back down here, when I originally did it, I copied the mouse in event, and that's why it wasn't picked up by Wix's event handler. So if you were to actually go in and add a mouse in, mouse out, or any sort of event handler, we'd actually make sure you actually do it through this panel over here. So make sure if you want to click, for instance, like an on click, you'd simply click it and then add the plus sign there. So that's just a little quick comment. I want to make sure in case you weren't sure why it was working the second time instead of the first. So just make sure, in short, to always add it through here so that it gets picked up by Wix and it knows exactly what to do. And then if you want to publish, again, we can click on publish. Currently it's right there, just like that. But you can edit the actual name of it too on the dashboard, and then I can click on exit. And then you can also view the mobile site here as well if you'd like to. And that basically just showcases the mobile version. So I'll just skip this. And you can just see this is just like the mobile view. And we have all our code up right now. So it's going to look kind of crazy, but basically you have it just looking like this. And then you can go in here and edit this content too. You know, fix out the designs. And again, tailor that to whatever design you'd like to fit. But for now, this is just showing you how to utilize the actual Wix Velo coding features. And also you might have noticed that there was a preview on the website when we were actually viewing it. So if you want to get rid of that actual logo, you can go over here to upgrade and simply click on upgrade now, and then you'll get rid of all of that and get access to all the other custom features that are only on Wix premium plans. And aside from the designing, that was just a simple way to implement some custom code to your website, and hope you learned some things about using event handlers, and just selecting things with IDs. And if you're much more advanced, then you can actually go over here and check out the additional features such as the code files here. And you can add in your custom JavaScript code. Also, if you know backend, you can go here and implement that. And as well, you can add additional packages here. And then also we have the feature to search your code. So this is simple, just like a typical code editor. If you ever coded before, you can always search things in your code to find any bugs or just simply update something. And then we have the databases. So this is already a template with a contact form here. But again, you can go ahead and create your own custom databases and then add on to that. And then also we have some Velo tools, which are all these different production tools here. And you can go in here and check out the details of them. And if they fit your website, then obviously you can implement them as well. So you can see like API keys as well as debugging, etc. And then last but not least, there's just some help if you need any extra additional help. So that completes the video for today. So if you have not already, all the links are going to be in the description below. So you can get access to the Wix editor and start creating your own websites. And if you haven't already, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up. Subscribe if you're new to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.